Welcome to 15.4. What are the advantages and disadvantages of coal? This will be a quick one. So this is coal. Maybe it's a little hard to see in here, but this is a big bucket wheel extractor like the one we looked at that was in Germany, extracting coal from a strip mining operation to get coal. How does coal form? Well, it begins as peat. Right? Peat is accumulation of swampy grasses, right, that die and get packed on top of each other over time, and under pressure it gets compacted together. Given a long enough time, pressure, and heat, it will become a diamond, pure carbon arrangement and diamond. But it becomes coal prior to that, which is when it is useful to us for fuel. So we take this peat. You can see them cutting. They've cut sections out of these peat bogs. This is probably in Ireland or in Scotland. They harvest a lot of peat there, and it will become coal. So peat, of course, has the least amount of compacted energy, right? Because it has not yet been squashed together under time, pressure, and heat. And then as you go through, lignite, subbituminous, bituminous, and anthracite. Anthracite is the most dense, is the cleanest, has the highest energy content per quantity of the different types of coal. And of course, if you recognize that word, bituminous, bitumen, remember that was the type of fuel that we were after in oil and tar sands, is bitumen. So subbituminous coal and bituminous. So we have a lot of bituminous coal and anthracite in the United States, which is great because the coal that we harvest, that we use, even though coal operations are always very dirty, is one of the disadvantages, very dirty fuel. We have some of the best coal that there is, versus China, which we'll look at in a little bit, has some of the really lower quality, lower types of coal. U.S. coal regions, you can see we've got some all over, with the best ones being the best branches of coal being these darker regions. So we have a lot in Pennsylvania. Trying to think the name. There's the name of a Centralia. Look up Centralia, Pennsylvania if you have time for it. It is a coal mine in Pennsylvania that caught on fire, I think back in the 80s, and has been burning for over 30 years, and it won't burn out until that whole bed of coal is consumed. They've tried many different ways to try and put this thing out, but the entire town is now a ghost town because the underneath the ground is burning. And as it burns coal out of a certain area, then we see, just like sinkholes in Florida, once we pump the water out, right, the limestone on top caves in. Once the coal's burning out, the land on top of it is caving in. So crazy place. We know then that where these areas are right now, even though they may not be currently, at some point in time they're probably a swamp or a marsh area. Coal advantages: it is, with subsidies, low cost. We have lots and lots of it, depending on how fast we burn it. If it's our main producer of electricity, or if you use it just as a portion of our energy resources, we could have up to 1,100 years of this stuff. It's easy to transport: trucks, train cars. We've been transporting it forever. Air pollution can be reduced with clean coal technology. However, it adds to cost. When we get to air pollution, we'll talk about those clean coal technology, usually in the form of scrubbers, which can filter out a lot of the particulates that are emitted when we burn coal. Disadvantages: it is the dirtiest of the fossil fuels, the dirtiest. Air pollution, greenhouse gases, CO2 is released, tremendous amounts. And here's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that it releases mercury. Mercury is a naturally occurring metal, and it forms sometimes in these coal beds. So when we burn coal, we release this mercury into the atmosphere, and then it returns back to us when it precipitates and it rains, and it lands in our oceans. So we have, just like tuna, right, top predatory fish. It eats smaller fish, and those smaller fish eat smaller fish. And through this, that mercury biomagnifies through the trophic pyramid until when you get to tuna, it's highly concentrated. So if you are, one day, ladies, when you become pregnant, men, when your wives become pregnant, you should not eat more than one serving of tuna per week because of the high mercury content in them. It also releases radioactive particles, and this is a great test question that's been on old AP questions. and people get it wrong, and this is why. You talk about the release of radioactive particles into the atmosphere when producing a type of energy, and everyone automatically assumes that we're discussing nuclear energy, which is not true, because when a nuclear power plant is operating the way it should, the only thing being released from it is water vapor, right? If a nuclear power plant is releasing radioactivity into the atmosphere, something's wrong with that power plant, needs to be shut down. However, when we burn coal, we are releasing radioactive particles into the atmosphere. So, under normal operating conditions, if radioactive particles are being released into the atmosphere, they're talking about coal. Of course, the black lung, human health and respiratory diseases, 50,000 cases in the United States, and premature death, this is not the United States, worldwide, and high land use, of course, because we have to extract it. We're strip mining. We're clearing off the topsoil. We're cutting into forests, clear cutting to get into it. Coal in China, again, very dirty fuel. Coal used in China has 35,000 parts per million of arsenic, compared to the United States coal, which only has 22 parts per billion. So that is something to worry about. And they use coal a lot, and so it may be hard for you to see, but these are these little circular bricks that they make out of it, and they use it in everything. They use it in their homes to heat water, cook their food, to heat their homes. So, and they still sell it in the backs of these little buggies, where some people actually still have those little, I can't remember what they're called, where they pull the little buggies behind them and they deliver the bricks house to house. Because you got to remember, even though China has huge cities like Beijing, they also have almost 1.4 billion people on the planet, and the majority of them are living very low SES, socioeconomic status, meaning they're poor, very, very poor, so they can't afford anything but this coal, if that. So this smog in China, this is a video screen showing a sunrise because they can't actually see it through the smog. Okay, that's the end, but I'm going to take you guys to a website real quick to show you some other pictures. Just to tell you how bad the smog is in China. Last year in Beijing, a building got lit on fire and burned for 3 hours before anybody realized that this building was on fire, because they couldn't see the smoke through all of the fog. Right, Jesse?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so here is some of these pictures here. This side, this is the city of Harbin, on the left-hand side, on a clear day when there was no smog. This is what it looks like normally. All right. So recently there were some people, some delegates from around the world who met to talk about clean energy in China. So they stopped all traffic, they stopped all industry in that area, so that the smog would clear out. This is it on a normal day. See a couple other pictures. Smog as people are crossing over this bridge. Like that, you can't see the buildings. That would be awful. Awful to live there. People covering their mouths because this smog is so intense, it does cause lung cancer. So over the course of their lives, people are concerned when they live in this city or the city of Beijing that they will develop lung cancer, asthma, emphysema. And that one won't load. That's great. No, I don't want to see that slideshow. But you get the point. It's pretty smoggy in China.